Shalom, shalom, Israel. It's been a minute since I did a little lesson on here on the computer, man. All praises. You know what I'm saying? I have not did a lesson on here for a little while. So bear with me. I'm still trying to, get adjusted to, using back the laptop. So bear with me, bear with me. Let's see. Trying to get everything set up. Trying to get everything set up. Trying to get everything set up before we start. Right. So, what I'm saying? By the title of it, yes, you have read correctly. Yes. Idols will be destroyed, and yes, all nations will serve Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi. All nations will serve Yahawah bahasham Yahawashi. All right, let's get into it. This is on Wisdom of Solomon 14. I'm sorry, verse 8. It says, but that which is made with hands is cursed. Right? So any idol that you can think of that is made with hands, because there's a lot of idols that's made with hands. You know what I'm saying? It as he that made it, right? So anything that's an idol, that is not the most high God, obviously that is in heaven above. That is an idol. Because often today we see there's a lot of idols. We got, idols of gold, silver, brass, wood, you know, you can think of it, it's idolatries at an all-time high. Shalom to Elder in the chat. Also you got different type of now gods that people praise, like these pagan holidays, idolatry. They try to now, switch it up. It's cool to, do these things, when the Bible, condemns it. It says, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called God, right? So any idol that is not the most high God, is a corruptible thing, you know. I want to get that in Habakkuk too. So let me get this real quick. Habakkuk. Let's get that in Habakkuk too. Because all idols with hands, is not the most high. Let's get that real quick. Let's see. Is it two? Yo. Yeah, Habakkuk 2. Let's get this real quick. It says, what profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof have graven it? Because we just read what King Solomon wrote. Let's go back. Like I said, bear with me. My have, been a little iffy since I ain't been on my computer. Laptop dies actually. Make sure everything. Okay, so we're good. Okay. Let's do it. Okay, let's go back to it. Try to do this real quick. All right, so it says basically the person that made the idol itself and the person that made the idol is cursed. So that's why Habakkuk is saying, what profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof have graven it? What was the purpose of making the idol when it's a cursed thing, and the person that made the idol is cursed as well for making it? The molten image and a teacher of lies, because you got a lot of different idols that are teaching people lies, that the maker of his work trusted therein to make dumb idols, right? It's all just dumb at the end of the day. Praying to a statue, praying to a piece of wood, praying to crystals, praying to, all these different false gods that have no breath, no life in it. It's just sitting there, It says, woe unto him that says to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach, right? Because a lot of people, follow after, different type of religions these days that teach lies, a lot of people, have lied falsely on the Bible, have persuaded many people not to believe in it, and these and that made the idol, and the idol itself is cursed, right? Let's finish this out. It says, behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple, right? The Lord, Yahawah, the Most High God, the Father, dwells in heaven. You know, the Most High God dwells in heaven. The Most High God is not some statue, no picture, no none of that, man. The Most High God dwells in heaven. Let all the earth keep silence before him. That means everybody, all nations, But let's get back to it. Let's get back to wisdom of Solomon. Let's go to verse 9 now. It says, for the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike, hateful unto God, right? For the ungodly and the ungodliness are both alike, hateful unto God, right? It's hateful to the Most High, because he already been warned us and told us, let's get Exodus, 20, that don't worship no other God that is not me. That is detestable in the eyes of the Lord for Jake to be out here worshiping any other God that's not the Most High. It says, and God spake all these words, saying, so what is Yahawah saying? I am the Lord, thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, right? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth, right? So the Most High God said that, hey, don't worship no other God before me. Don't have no graven image, none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, let's get a definition of graven image, because a lot of people, get tripped up about certain things when they hear graven image, and then they just automatically assume that everything that picture wise is a graven image. Let's get definition of graven image. Oh, got a couple examples too. It says a graven image is a carved idol or statue, usually made of wood, stone, or metal, worshipped as a representation of a deity. That is the definition of a false god, or not a false god, a graven image. It's used to worship. Me having a picture like this sitting up here, that's not a graven image. You know what I'm saying? That I have a picture of a lion that's sitting over there. That's not a graven image. That's literally just a picture of a lion. I'm not bound down and I'm not worshiping it. The Lord is not saying you cannot have stuff like that in your house. That's not what he's talking about, because a lot of Israelites, read these things and they get tripped up about it, like, oh, I can't have no picture of nothing in my house. That's not what the Lord's talking about. It's not what he's talking about. He's talking about graven images like these that people bow down and worship. I'm not ever praying to this. This is not nothing. This is just something I drew. That's why I say, Jake, man, you know what I'm saying? That's why I said study to show yourself approved. It says originating from the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20:4, what we just read, it represents a prohibition against worshiping physical objects as God. That's the total definition of graven images. Something that is an idol, that is usually wood, stone, metal, worshiping of a deity that people bow down and worship as God. Synonyms include idol, carved figure, false god, statue, or graven idol. Right? So that's the definition of a graven image. This is all the Most High is talking about. He's not talking about you can't have that on your in your room or nothing. I don't think nobody can let me undo it. Right? So let's see if I can point. Oh, wrong one. Okay, let's see this. Right, so the Most High God is not, you see this right here? This is not what he's talking about. when it says graven image, because it's a lot of Israelites that'll be like, oh, that's idolatry. That's not idolatry. We just literally just read what a graven image is. That's not a graven image. I'm not bound down. I'm not worshiping them, nor am I persuading anybody else to worship it. You know? So don't ever let somebody come at you sideways talking about, oh, you can't have that. That's an idol. That's not a graven image. We just went into the word and seen what it was actually talking about. Right? So let's get verse 10. It says, for that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Right? So anybody that's making idols, that's false gods to be worshipped, the person that made it and the idol is going to be punished with it. And also idolaters, man. The people that bow down to worship these things, man, you're going to get punished with the idol. Let's keep going. It says, therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, right? The idols of the Gentiles is anything that is not Yahweh. Let me give you a great representation of not Yahweh. Let me give you an idol that's not God. This is an idol that will be punished. Let's go back to it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation. This is an idol of the Gentiles, because this is not what Yahawashi look like. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people pray to this person. A lot of people believe in their heart that this is the Messiah. Let's get another example. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. This is another idol that the East Indians worship. This is a false god. Let's get another one. People worship this man right here. This is a false god. This is not the Most High. These are different things that the Most High God will punish when he sends his son back. We can go days for days. Let's get another big one. These are graven images that when Yahawashi comes back, these idols will be visited and destroyed, and the people that worship him will be destroyed too. Look at this. This is the definition of what the Bible is talking about. Bowing down, worshiping it like it's God. It's just stupid at the end of the day, like the prophet said. One of the prophets of the Most High God literally just said that that's stupid. That's dumb. Let's keep going. It says, therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination, stumbling blocks to the souls of men, because some people just can't let these things go. Some people can't let go of idols. Let's get another idol. Look at that. This is an idol that people worship. People pray to these things. People worship these things, man. This is real, man. People do these things. Look at that, worshiping idols, man. Look at that. That just don't even look right. Graven images, man. False gods. Let's read that last part. Because in the creature of God they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. Idols are really a stumbling block, man. It's a lot of people that can't simply let go of idols. Like, you can bring it out in the Bible and show people that, hey, this is an idol. Let's get another example. Right? This is another idol that people cannot let go. They know what the Bible says, but God knows my heart. These are different things that people cannot simply let go. The sons of men, mortal men that are on this earth, can't simply let go of these idols, you know? And a snare to the feet of the unwise, because why? They're unwise in the law of God. That the law of God says literally, don't worship no idol, you know? Let's get verse 12. It says, for the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, right? People always just tend to think that fornication is just, having sexual desires, Fornication is not always just, having those type of thoughts. You could be a spiritual fornicator by worshiping idols, you know? Like the Bible says also, Israel's like an adulterous woman because worshiping other gods, because we're married to the Most High and his son, and it's just crazy that how the Bible is just so true and real that it calls these things out. It says the invention of them, the corruption of life, right? It's the corruption of life because it leads men astray, women astray, children astray, generations of Israelites astray, because nobody likes the truth. It says, for neither were they from the beginning, right? In the beginning of time in the garden, there was no idols. Everybody knew that the Most High God was real, Neither shall they be forever, right? Forever in the kingdom of heaven, there ain't going to be no idols. We're going to get to that too. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have to break it down to the Gentiles that, hey, you can't be worshiping no other God. Let's get this. It says, for by the vain glory of men they entered into the world, right? Vain glory of men, renowned men back then, that introduced these things to people. That became a stumbling block to a lot of people, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end, because when Yahawashi, or who they call Jesus Christ, comes back, he's not going to let all that go on the earth when he comes. There ain't going to be no more idol worship. It ain't going to be none of that. It's gonna be, you're gonna be worshiping him and a heavenly Father, and you're gonna be serving his people. If you don't want to get down with the program, hey, like he said, bring them hither and slay them before me, right? So now that we know that idols is the corruption of life, and that the Lord is gonna visit the Gentiles and deal with them because of that, man. Let's speed it up now to why we got to teach all nations that's wrong. Let's get that Isaiah 2 real quick. It says the word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, right? Prophecy towards the northern and southern kingdom. It shall come to pass that in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it, right? All nations is going to be worshiping the Lord God of hosts, Yahawashi, and his only begotten son. It ain't gonna be no more, false gods, when Yahawashi comes. And many people shall go and say, come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. They're gonna come to Jerusalem. They're gonna come to Israel. They're gonna come to the house of God, the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, right? We're going to be teaching all nations how to serve our God, basically. We're going to be teaching all nations to serve our God, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law. This is last days prophecy. Let me go back up. It says the last days. We're living in the last days, and it literally just said, out of Zion shall go forth the law. So for anybody that says you don't have to keep the law, why does it say that we're going to be teaching all nations to keep the law? For our people that still want to follow after, subscribe to the doctrine of Christianity, teaching that the law of Moses don't matter. But it just told you in the last days, when we go back home and we're in the kingdom that literally we're going to be teaching all nations. We're going to be teaching all nations the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem, right? That's how you know that, this is going to happen. And he shall judge among the nations, right? He's going to judge these nations, right? And shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, right? They're going to be working for us. They're going to be serving us, because Lord willing, if we make it, I don't know who's going to make it. I pray to make it, but whoever makes it, they're not going to be building up the kingdom. We're going to have other people building up the kingdom, you know? It says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. That's how you know that if the real Israelites were in the land, there shouldn't be no war going on right now. But obviously, you know, the people that are the small, you know, they're not, you know, the 1948ers, they're not lining up with biblical prophecy. So that's how we know that these people are not, these people are not the people. It says, "Oh, house of Jacob, come ye and let us walk in the light of the Lord." What's the light of the Lord? His commandments. Let me give you an example. You see where it says Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy? That's the light of the Lord. That's how you know that you're walking in the light. If you're not doing that, you're not walking in the light. You're not walking in the light. That goes even for me. If I'm not doing what it's saying there, I'm not walking in the light. Right? Let's get Micah real quick. Because the two prophets confirmed this, man. Because the Lord, like I always love to say, the Lord spoke by the mouth of his prophets, man. Let's get that real quick. Let's get that in Micah chapter 4. Micah seen the same vision, that all nations will come and serve Yahawah. All right. It says, but in the Micah 4, for anybody, Micah 4, chapter 1, it says, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord and go to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth in Zion, of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Right? It says, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts have spoken it. So the Lord Yahawah spoke this prophecy. The Lord Yahawah said all nations is going to come and worship and learn of him, you know. So that's why it's very important for us, especially us brothers that go out there street teaching. This is why it's very important to study the law, because this is what we're going to be teaching everybody. You're going to have people real soon coming up trying to inquire of us, hey, I know that y'all teaching the truth, you know, and they're going to have to come learn from us. So if we're not actually studying the law, how are we going to teach everybody else to keep it? But we got to get our people in order first, because our people is going to be a light to all nations, you know. For all people will walk, everyone in the name of his God, and we will walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever, right? We're going to walk in the name of the Lord Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, with boldness, man. We're going to walk in that name in boldness, right? Let's get a couple more and then we're going to close it out, man. There's so much you can go into this. Let me get Jeremiah. Let's go. Let's just stay in the prophets, man. Let's confirm that the Lord said that this is going to happen. This is Jeremiah. Let's get chapter 3, right? Yep. Jeremiah 3:17. It says, at that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord. Why? Why is that? Because why? We're literally going to be, you know, in a heavenly body. We're going to be like the Most High. We're going to be like in fashion into a body like his son, like the Apostle Paul was telling us in the New Testament. And all nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem, right? Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. Because why? These Gentiles have made idols and have taught everybody, you know what I'm saying, that these things are okay. That's why everybody thinks it's okay to just do live your best life, or do what you want to do. Everybody's gonna have to learn the truth, you know, right? So they're not gonna be doing that anymore when Yahawashi establishes his kingdom on this earth. You ain't gonna have nobody running around worshiping no Buddha, no false god, no deity. It's gonna be straight worshiping Yahweh bahasham Yahawashi, right? Let's get Tobit. Let's go to the apocrypha real quick. Let's get Tobit real quick. Let's get Tobit. Right. This is Tobit. Should I start up a little bit? I ain't like all this in Tobit really is really good, man. I don't know. Should I start at verse 1? All this is really good. Let me see what it says. Yeah, let's get Tobit. Let's start at verse 1. This is Tobit 14, verse 1. It says, so Tobit made an end of praising Yahweh, and he was 58 years old when he lost his sight. Right, so he was 58 years old, which was restored to him after 8 years. He gave alms, and he increased in the fear of the Lord God. Right, so when Tobit, was going through his trials and testing, he came out gold. And he became, and look how it says that he got increased just because of going through that fire and temptation and that trial that he had to go through for 8 years. Think about 8 long consecutive years he had to go through that, and he came out on fire, man, and praised him, right? And when he was very aged, he called his son and the sons of his sons, and the sons of his son, and said to him, my son, take thy children, for behold, I am aged and am ready to depart out of this life, right? Tobit's about to face the same thing that every single body before us, before them, from the beginning of the time of Eden, the same thing that the Lord appointed to man, death. It's appointed for a man to be born, and it's a point for a man has to depart out of this life. Death is not scary. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, because a lot of people think that, death is scary. Death is not scary. The book of Sirach literally says that this thing is just, let me get that real quick in Sirach 41. Because people think that death is just scary. You're not supposed to be scared of death. It is what it is, man. We all got to die. I got to die. When you come to grip with that, man, that really gives you peace that one day that you got to die, right? It says, O death, how bitter is the remembrance of thee to a man that liveth at rest in his possessions, right? That's why a lot of people are scared to die, because they don't want to lose their possessions, their house, their car, their money, unto the man that have nothing to vex him, and that have prosperity in all things, yea, unto him that is yet able to receive meat. O death, acceptable is thy sentence unto the needy, unto him whose strength faileth, that is now in the last age, and is vexed with all things, and to him that is spared and have lost patience, right? Fear not the sentence of death. The Bible literally just told you, fear not the sentence of death. Remember them that have been before thee, and that come after thee, for this is the sentence of the Lord over all flesh. Everybody, Israelite, heathen, everybody has to die. While we're in this world today, before Yahawashi comes and gives us immortal bodies, Lord willing, that literally everybody has to die in this life. But the Bible says, fear not death. The same thing Yahawashi said in the New Testament. Fear not them that kill the body. Because why? This is just temporary. The life that's after this is eternal, right? So that's why it's very important, man, to, be getting ourselves together, bid into the marriage, waiting on our husband, Yahweh bahasham Yahawashi, and actually, doing the things that is, right in this body, man. So when you die and you be resurrected, you be, raised from the dead, and receive an immortal body that does not die, doesn't get sick, and does not suffer the pain of what we feel today, it's gonna be worth it, right? That's it on that, yeah. So let's go back. So Tobit was telling Tobias that the same thing. Hey man, I gotta die. The same thing that is over all flesh. I gotta die. Go to Media, my son, for I surely believe those things which Jonah the prophet spake in Nineveh, that it shall be overthrown, and that for a time of peace shall rather be in Media, and that our brethren shall lie scattered in the earth from the good land, and Jerusalem shall be desolate, and the house of God in it shall be burned, and shall be desolate for a time, right? So if you're not familiar with what he's talking about, you got to go read the book of Jonah. And that again, God will have mercy on them, who is them, the Israelites, and bring them again into the land where they shall build a temple, but not like to the first, until the time of that age be fulfilled. Afterward, they shall return from all places of their captivity and build up Jerusalem gloriously. And the house of God shall be built in it forever with a glorious building. And as the prophets have spoken thereof, right? All the things that Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all these different prophets, Daniel, Ezra's, and all nations shall turn and fear the Lord God truly, and shall bury their idols, right? The same thing that what the lesson is going over. These idols will be destroyed. All nations will serve Yahawashi bahasham Yahawashi. This has already been spoken. There ain't nothing a Gentile you can burn this Bible, rip it up, do whatever you want to do. It's already spoken. It's going to come to pass. The Lord has spoken the end from the beginning, right? So let's go back to Jeremiah. It says, at that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart, serving these idols, not walking in the commandments. All that's going to get put to death when Yahawashi when he comes on this earth, right? And that's the thing that they fear, man, because they know that Yahawashi is living and true, Let me see what that Isaiah talking about. See if I want that Isaiah. Isaiah 26. Let me see what that's saying. See what it says. Isaiah 26:9. It says, with my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness, right? Everybody in this world is going to learn righteousness. How? Because the Lord's sending his judgments today. It's getting us together. So when we come to our heavenly state, we're going to get this world in order, how the way it was supposed to be from the beginning, with our forefather Adam, he's saying, and then this is why the world is like it is today, But like I said, I can't even blame Adam because, we all have stumbled and sinned. All of us have fallen short of the glory of God, as Israel, right? Let's get this. This Psalms 22 and 27. It says, all the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, right? David was a prophet too. You read the book of Acts, it says that literally David was a prophet. It says, all the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto Yahawashi, and all kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. All nations is going to be in Jerusalem worshiping Yahawashi bahasham Yahawashi. For the kingdom is the Lord. See, this the one thing we got to humble down and realize. If Lord willing we make it, it's because of grace and mercy. The kingdom belongs to Yahawashi bahasham Yahawashi. I don't deserve the kingdom. I pray to partake, but I know deep down inside I don't deserve the kingdom, And he is the governor among the nations, right? He's going to establish righteousness through his son, and his son through the elect, and the rest of Israel when everybody in our nation is on top, man. That's how we're going to run this world in righteousness, man. Let me see. Let me get that Zephaniah, see what that say. The prophets already spoke these things, man. Ain't nothing nobody can do. The Lord already said it, man. Let's see. It says Zephaniah 2:11. It says, the Most High Yahweh will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth. See, when Yahweh sends Yahawashi, all these idols are going to be destroyed instantly. And men shall worship him. Who is him? Yahweh. Everyone from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. That means every single last heathen is going to worship Yahweh. Africans, Moabites, the Chinese, the Japanese, the East Indian man, woman, the Arabs, Esau, all these different people in the world will worship Yahweh. It's already been spoken. The prophets already been spoke this. Everybody will serve the Most High. All right. Let's get a couple more that we'll close out. Let's go back to the book of Psalms. We're going to stay in Psalms for a couple scriptures. Let's get this real quick. Let's get Psalm 69, I think. Or 67. I think it's 67. Let's get 67, see what that's saying. Right. All nations will serve Yahweh bahasham Yahawashi. Right. Right. It says Psalm 674, oh, let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations upon earth, Selah. Right? Yahawashi is going to have dominion. He's going to rule over all nations. Everybody's going to come to Jerusalem, man. We're going to get that in Zechariah 2. We're going to get that Zechariah where it talks about if any of the Gentiles that don't want to come up to the Feast of Tabernacles and they don't want to worship Yahweh, they're going to, you know what I'm saying, they ain't going to get no rain, man. Right? It's Psalms 33:8. It says, let all the earth fear the Lord Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him, right? Everybody's going to stand in awe. Everybody's going to know that this word, that what we're testifying is true, and that the word will come into effect when Yahweh bahasham Yahawashi establishes righteousness, right? Right? Let's get on now Zechariah. Let's get Zechariah real quick. Let's get Zechariah. Let me see where in Zechariah. I think it's 14. It's in 14. Let's get Zechariah 14 real quick. Computer about to die, so let's try to hurry it up. Let's see. It's a lot in actually Zechariah that you can go over. Let's get Zechariah 14 real quick. Get Zechariah 14. Zechariah 14. And we'll just have to close it out. We'll just have to close it out after this because my laptop's about to die. So let's hurry up and get this real quick. Right, let's start at verse 16. Right. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, Yahweh, to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Well, we celebrate every single year. You know, when we go out to the woods, you know, we do our best ability. You know, we don't, you know, how would I say, we get our tents, you know, we try our best. We try our best to keep the law to the best of our ability. You know, while we're still in our captivity, we try to, you know, keep it the best we can, you know, even though we know it says, you know, what it says, you know, we still try our hardest to keep these commandments. It says, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. That means if you don't want to come up, you ain't finna get no rain. Your crops are gonna dry out. Think about that. You're gonna make it bad on yourself if you don't want to come up and worship Yahweh. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not up, that means them Hamites, because Ham is so prone to doing profane things, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord shall smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. Right? You don't wanna come up, okay? We'll deal with you, man. We'll deal with you. We ain't gonna be on that compassionate, you just broke the Sabbath day. It's okay, go home. No, it ain't gonna be that. You're gonna get put to death, You're gonna get put to death. All right. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. You don't want to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, you're going to get punished. You don't want to celebrate Passover, you're going to get punished. You don't want to come up and worship the Lord just in general, just go ahead and get ready to be slave, man. So don't get it twisted, man. Don't get it twisted. Let's get the king. Let's get Yahawashi. Let's finish off with the king. Bring hither and slay before me. Yep. Internet already know. All praise. This is Luke 19. Yahawashi words. Let's get it real quick. Okay, why is he doing that? See how Google always messing up. Don't want to do right. Oh, I love this. Got it all read because the king said it himself. Luke 19:27. But those my enemies, who's the enemies of Yahawashi? Anybody that's not an Israelite, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Right? That even go for our own people. Our own people can act like enemies, So if you don't want Yahweh, bahasham Yahawashi, to rule over you in righteousness by the law of Moses, bring them hither and slay before me. That's what the Lord said. This is red letters. That means Christ said it himself. So with that, I digress. Pray, Lord willing, that you got something from it. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, bahasham Yahawashi. Lord willing, that everybody stays watchful in these last days. That everybody keep continually to stay strengthened. You know what I'm saying? It's the brother Nehemiah signing out. I'm gonna say shalom. Oh, yeah.